For exactly 40 minutes and 32 seconds, NASA went silent. No signal, no telemetry, no contact with four human beings hurtling through deep space. And when the connection finally came back, the astronauts said almost nothing. They were just staring. What they saw on the other side of the moon, a place no human eye had ever witnessed, wasn't just breathtaking, it was wrong. On April 6, 2026, four astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, completed something that hadn't happened in over 50 years, a human flyby of the moon. But this wasn't Apollo, this was different. Because those Apollo crews, they hugged the near side, they stayed where it was familiar, where the surface looked like the moon we know. The Artemis II crew went behind it. And the far side of the moon? Scientists have been staring at it from satellites for decades. They've mapped it, they've scanned it, they've run models. And here's the thing they can't explain. It doesn't make sense. The two sides of the same moon look like they came from completely different worlds. And buried underneath the far side's surface, there is something massive, something that shouldn't be there. What exactly did these astronauts see, and why are scientists so unsettled by it? Stay with me. Let's set the scene, because scale matters here. The Orion spacecraft, named Integrity, launched on April 1st. By day 5, it had crossed what's called the lunar sphere of influence, the invisible threshold where the moon's gravity starts pulling harder than Earth's. Astronaut Christina Koch described the moment over comms. "We are now falling to the moon rather than rising away from Earth." That single sentence should tell you something. They weren't just traveling anymore. They were being pulled. By 1:56 p.m. on April 6th, they did something no human had done in 56 years. They broke the distance record. They were now farther from Earth than any human being in history. 252,756 miles. To put that in perspective, that's more than 1,000,000 times the height of Mount Everest. And then, the moon grew in the window until it filled the whole frame. At closest approach, they were just 4,067 miles above the surface, moving at 60,863 miles per hour relative to Earth, fast enough to circle our entire planet in under 25 minutes. They began photographing, describing craters, noting colors, shades of brown and faint blue that help scientists understand the mineral age of the surface. Mission Control's science team was watching in real time, sending new observation targets up to the crew as fast as they could type. But then, everything went dark. 6:41 p.m. The crew witnesses something called Earthset. Earth, the only home any human being has ever known, drops below the lunar horizon. A crescent of blue and white clouds over the Pacific, slowly swallowed by the edge of the moon. And then it was gone. For the next 40 minutes, those four astronauts were completely, utterly alone. The moon's bulk sat between them and Earth, blocking every radio frequency, every signal, every lifeline back home. The Deep Space Network, NASA's most powerful communication system, couldn't reach them. It was the longest communications blackout in human spaceflight history. And this is where it gets strange. They were on the far side, the side that, for the entire history of humanity, no human eye had ever seen. And they were just there, floating over it, silent, watching. What exactly did they see? What is on that side of the moon that scientists still can't fully explain? Let me show you. Here's something that most people don't realize. The moon has two completely different faces. The near side, the one you see every night, is relatively smooth. It has what are called maria, vast dark plains formed by ancient lava flows. It looks almost serene. The far side is something else entirely. It's brutally cratered, rugged, violent-looking, covered in overlapping impact scars going back billions of years. And here's the part scientists genuinely argue about. Why are they so different? The crust on the far side is up to 50 kilometers thicker than the near side. Same moon, same formation, different thickness. Why? One theory. When the moon was born, blasted out of Earth by a colossal collision with a body called Theia, the near side faced a molten, glowing Earth. It stayed warm longer. It stayed liquid longer. It developed differently. Meanwhile, the far side cooled fast, went rigid early, and got pummeled by every asteroid that came through the solar system without a second chance to heal. But that's not even the strangest part. The strangest part is what's underneath the far side's surface. At the base of the far side sits the South Pole Aitken Basin. It is the largest confirmed impact crater in the entire solar system, not just on the moon, in the solar system. Over 2,500 kilometers wide, nearly 13 kilometers deep, a wound so massive that scientists believe it may have actually tilted the moon on its axis when it formed 4 billion years ago. But here's what scientists didn't expect to find when they sent gravity mapping satellites over it. Underneath the crater floor, buried somewhere between 180 and 300 kilometers deep, there is an enormous mass of material, something dense, something heavy, something that is literally dragging the crater floor down by more than half a mile. Researchers described it this way. Imagine taking a pile of metal 5 times the size of Hawaii's Big Island and burying it underground. That's how much excess mass is sitting there, unaccounted for, unexplained. The leading theory? When that colossal asteroid hit the moon 4 billion years ago, it didn't just leave a crater, it left itself. The iron-nickel core of the impacting asteroid may have embedded itself directly into the moon's mantle and just stayed there for 4 billion years, frozen in time, a remnant of the solar system's most violent era. But here's what's strange. We can't confirm it. We can't reach it. We can only feel its gravitational pull, like a ghost tugging at the fabric of the moon from the inside. And when the Artemis II crew was flying over this very region, in silence, cut off from Earth, staring down at that scarred ancient surface, they had no idea what was pulling at them from below. But what they discovered next changes everything we thought we knew about our own moon. Because it wasn't just the crater, it wasn't just the mass anomaly, there was something else. Something the astronauts witnessed from that window that scientists are still trying to process. At 8:35 p.m., as the crew emerged from behind the moon, they entered something that no human had ever seen from this angle in the history of the species. A total solar eclipse from deep space. Orion, the moon, and the sun aligned perfectly. The moon completely blocked the sun and held it blocked for nearly 54 minutes. On Earth, a total solar eclipse lasts maybe 7 minutes if you're lucky. From where these 4 humans were floating, it lasted almost an hour, and in that darkness, something appeared that scientists couldn't immediately explain. Around the edge of the darkened moon, a faint halo of light glowed, a ring of pale fire. Scientists are still investigating whether it was the sun's corona, zodiacal light, or possibly both, interacting in a way never previously documented from this position in space. And the moon itself, it wasn't fully dark. Astronaut Victor Glover described it over comms, and I want you to really hear what he said. After all of the amazing sights that we saw earlier, we just went sci-fi. The moon was being lit, faintly, hauntingly, by light reflected off the Earth. Earthshine, humanity's glow bouncing off the planet, illuminating the ancient scarred surface of another world from 250,000 miles away. You can actually see a majority of the moon, Glover said. It is the strangest looking thing. A professional astronaut, someone trained for years, someone who has floated in orbit, who has studied space science for decades, And his response was, "We just went sci-fi. Let that sink in for a moment." And then, just before comms were restored, the crew witnessed something that echoed across 58 years of human history: Earthrise. In 1968, the Apollo 8 astronauts took a photograph, a small blue marble rising above the gray lunar horizon. It became one of the most reproduced images in history. It changed how humanity saw itself. On April 6, 2026, the Artemis II crew took that photograph again. Same moment, same geometry, but now in crisp modern detail: a delicate crescent Earth, cloud systems over the Pacific, the night side dark and vast, hanging above the rugged silhouette of the moon's far side horizon. And then the radio crackled. The Deep Space Network reacquired the signal. Mission Control heard four voices again. Four human beings, farther from Earth than anyone in 56 years, who had just witnessed things no human being had ever seen. Christina Koch, the first woman in history to complete a lunar flyby, said something to NASA's leadership that captures everything about this moment. "I'm not ready to go home. We went back to the moon. 4 people flew behind it, over it, through its shadow, and came back with thousands of photographs, hours of observations, and a new kind of data that scientists will spend years interpreting." But here's what I keep thinking about. That mass underneath the South Pole Aitken Basin, the size of Hawaii times 5, buried hundreds of kilometers underground, we still don't know for certain what it is. We've never touched a sample from that basin. We've never drilled into it. We've only felt its gravity. Artemis III will land on the lunar South Pole. Artemis IV and beyond will begin building a permanent presence. And at some point, maybe in a decade, maybe 2, a human being will walk across the floor of the largest crater in the solar system and look down and know that underneath their boots, locked in the moon's mantle since before complex life existed on Earth, there is something that has been there for 4 billion years, waiting to be found. The moon isn't the gray, dead rock we thought it was. It's a time capsule, a record of the solar system's most violent past. And for 40 minutes on April 6, 2026, 4 humans floated above its darkest side, completely alone, and saw it up close. What do you think is buried down there? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe for what we discover next.